1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
This death battle is brought to you by Dimension Dino. Check the link in the description below to check out more of his amazing work. You will be seeing him again. They are true Goliaths, immovable objects with hot tempers, and they both have a shadow that weighs at least 65 pounds. I'm talking about the Blob, the Brotherhood's resident powerhouse, and Snorlax, the Titanic sleepyhead. My name is Chris Nest, and it's my job to analyze their weapons, armors, and skill to find out who would win a death battle. Okay, what is with this guy? Is his superpower just being fat? Would be your first thought at a glance of the Blob. But official sources say he's 5'10 and weighs almost 300 pounds. The guy's got more blubber on him than the combined fat levels of Rufus from Street Fighter and Bob from Tekken. I bet his doctors lied to him just to be nice, to be honest. Spending many years as a circus sideshow, Fred Dukes was approached by the X-Men and brought to the Xavier Institute. Professor Xavier believed him to be a mutant, and he was right. That revelation, however, went straight to Freddy's head, giving him one heck of a superiority complex. After butting head with the X-Men a lot, he decided he was too good for them and left the academy. Under threat of their identities being exposed, Professor Xavier ordered them to stop him. This was anything but an easy task. After losing his memories and getting them back, thus making it pointless, Blob joined the forces of Magneto and Mystique, who had a much darker plan for humanity than Xavier. He would become their go-to guy when they needed a good bit of muscle. At first you'd think I'd mean fat, but no, I did mean muscle. It's a combination of his fat and his skin. They are extremely elastic, making them highly absorbent to impacts and blunt force. These can range from punches to bullets and even Wolverine's adamantium claws. He's also resistant to intense heat and frostbite. You'd think this hurt, but he doesn't feel pain unless his skin is punctured. Fat chance of that happening, no pun intended. His fat isn't his only power though. Blob is incredibly strong, easily capable of holding up 2 monster trucks with nothing but his bare hands. He's even said to be able to lift 70 tons, strong enough to lift 2 army tanks. He's also quite the accomplished grappler and wrestler, making good use of his huge bulk and practical immovability. Speaking of his immovability, Blob has another mutant power called gravitational mass allocation. At will, Blob can become virtually immovable so long as he has contact with the ground. Cars have crashed into him, as have speeding locomotives, and he hasn't budged an inch. He's even had 2 monster trucks pulling on each arm, and he doesn't struggle. In fact, the only ones who have managed to move the self-proclaimed immovable object were the Incredible Hulk and the Juggernaut, whose strength levels are already off the charts. Or you could use this clever workaround, move the ground underneath him to trip him up. Telekinetics have done it, Earthbenders do it, Colossus did it, and they worked pretty well in my book. Still, for his titanic powers and virtual indestructibility, there are a few weaknesses on this fatso that can be taken advantage of. For starters, he's a complete dumbass, he is easily pissed off, and not very good at the planning game. And while his skin and fat can take most damage, there is a limit as to how much it can absorb. High intensity blasts with enough force can pierce it, but he's far more vulnerable in areas that don't have a lot of fat, like his head. His eyes, ears, mouth, and nose are all also vulnerable, and he has been knocked out with a heavy enough blow to the head. Still, there's a solid reason why the Brotherhood brought him aboard. Sure, he's in definite need of diet pills, but if you see him, you know the Brotherhood means some serious business.
Hey, guess what?
Various towns in the Pokemon world suffer a problem. Something's blocking the road, cutting off vital pathways for life-sustaining resources. Many attempts at moving the obstacle have failed, leaving the town nearly abandoned and slowly starving to death. Entire islands are stripped of their green leaves and bright fruits, and even waterways are blocked, preventing life-sustaining water from reaching the town below. And what is the cause of all this? a giant tubby Pokemon who's too lazy to get off its ass and too heavy for most to budge. Introducing Snorlax, the sleeping Pokemon. Standing almost 7 feet tall and weighing well over half a ton, Snorlax is a giant and longtime holder of the heaviest Pokemon title. That is, until Groudon came around and promptly usurped him. Despite its size, Snorlax can be surprisingly docile, even letting children bounce on its belly. In fact, Snorlax's everyday life consists of nothing but eating and sleeping, eating almost 900 pounds of food a day, and sleeping once it has eaten that amount. That's also helped by the fact that his stomach acids are so powerful that it can eat just about anything. Even food that's moldy or poisonous seemingly has no effect on him. However, should its nap be interrupted, Snorlax will get very grumpy. Despite its appearance, Snorlax boasts some of the highest HP of any Pokemon, allowing him to tank through some serious heavy damage. Snorlax also packs quite a punch with high physical strength, and while it's been frequently shown to not really mind most physical attacks, its defense is lackluster, but the same can't be said for its resistance to projectiles and elemental attacks, though it'll shrug those off pretty well. Snorlax also has a few abilities to boost itself in battle. It's completely immune to being poisoned, can half the damage by fire or ice-type Pokemon, and even restore bits of its health by eating something. While Snorlax is quite the heavy sleeper, often owning competition without even waking up, he's got quite the moveset, mostly focused on boosting his stats, throwing his weight around, and restoring his HP by, you guessed it, catching a quick nap. Snorlax's primary method of regaining health aside from eating berries is the move Rest, which fully restores his HP at the cost of falling asleep for 2 turns. This comes in handy with some moves like Belly Drum, which maximizes attack strength at a significant HP cost. Most would be at heavy risk when they're sleeping in mid-battle, but not this Pokemon. He can assault his opponent's ears with Snore and use one of his moves via Sleep Talk. Some of these moves include Rollout, which turn him into a giant rolling ball of death, Lick, which can somehow paralyze foes, and Body Slam. And right out of the moveset of Golurk, Snorlax can use Heavy Slam, which is stronger the more he outweighs his opponent. Considering he weighs half a ton, there isn't much competition. His strongest move, though, by far, is Giga Impact, where he hits a target with his fullest force. The only downside is he's got to rest up after using it. Fun fact, he's also quite the strong swimmer. And the reason behind this is, well, fat floats. Once this guy goes to sleep, few things can wake it aside from the Pokeflute, which causes some Snorlax to do this. Yes, it can dance. Cute, huh? Snorlax is a tank in every sense of the word, and a skilled one can typically take 2 or 3 opponents down with it. But this Pokemon moves like a tank too. It's so slow! Despite showing surprising flexibility and some agility, Snorlax has some especially low speed on Pokemon standards. While it's not really weak against most other types, which is a mixed blessing, it can't hurt Ghost-type opponents and is especially vulnerable to Fighting-type moves. And as stated previously, Snorlax is lazy by nature, often falling asleep on the job. If that Snorlax is rudely awoken, it goes to say that whoever woke it up will be in for a long, difficult fight. I think this chart says it all. Alright, the combatants are set. Let's settle this debate once and for all. It's time for a blubber battle! Considering his opponent would occasionally do things that many would call nonsense and continually sleep on the job, it's easy to see Blob underestimating his foe or flat out losing his cool over it, leaving him less likely to think rationally and walk right into whatever Snorlax wanted him to do. And while only the Hulk and Juggernaut could move the immovable object, Blob has been done in by much weaker adversaries who knew how to exploit his weaknesses and counteract his rooting ability. He's also nowhere near their level in durability and has exploitable Achilles heels. Either way, it looks like Blob's the butt of this tussle. The winner is Snorlax.